The HTTP request node is one of the most important and most powerful nodes within n8n, and in this video I'm going to take you through the step-by-step process on exactly how to understand them and how to use them. If you don't know how to use this node, you won't be able to build complex workflows in n8n or start any type of AI agency or automation agency. So by the end of this video, I'm going to take you through exactly the full process on how to understand these and how to use them in n8n. If you don't know who I am, I'm Folu. I founded WorkReady AI and I scaled my AI automation agency to over 100k per month. So without further ado, let's get into understanding these and how to use them. Okay, so these are the two HTTP requests that you're going to use if you are building automations. You can see the first one over here is a GET request, and the second one over here is a POST request. And the difference between both of these is essentially like asking for information or giving information. So for example, for a GET request, as you can see in here, if we are getting information and we're sending it over to a URL, that's like calling a phone restaurant, which would be the URL would be their phone number, and we're asking them what time do you stay open until. That's where we are getting information from them, so we are expecting a response back from them. Now, in the other hand, we have a POST request, which would essentially, we would put the company's phone number in here and we would call them and say, I want to order a pepperoni pizza. That would be us giving them information. So that's called a POST request. That's when we want to store information. Now, real life examples of this could be like for a GET request, we might be using Google Sheets, and we would put the Google Sheets API in here, which is the URL, essentially the phone number of the restaurant. And I would say to Google Sheets, give me all of the rows in my leads database. That's us asking for information. So we're going to use a GET request. Now, let's say I got all of them rows and I realized I've left one of the leads out that I have. I would then change it to a POST request. I would send it over to Google Sheets URL, which would be the API for adding information to a Google Sheet. And I would say I would send over a POST information and I would give it JSON, which would be the person's name. And that's the POST request. That's when I'm sending information over for them to store. So that's the general concept of a GET request and a POST request. And the rest of these other ones in here, you don't need to worry about using. You don't even need to think about them, because in 99% of scenarios, you will not use them. So you have a POST request down here and a GET request that you need to use. Now, the next thing we need to talk about is essentially this URL right here. And this URL is like I mentioned previously, it's like the phone number to the restaurant. This is how we know where we are going to send this information. Now, so an example of a GET request is we're going to give it this URL. This URL is basically an open API in which you can put in somebody's name, and it's going to tell you how many people have that name, the actual name that we put in, and the age. So if I put that URL in and I change it to John and I execute this step, it's going to retrieve information from me, which is the count of people with that name. It's going to give us the name that we asked for and the average age of somebody with that. So that's us using the URL or the API, and we're getting somebody's name. So we've sent off information where the name equals John, and it's given us back information of what we're looking for. Now, an example of a POST request could be where I come over here and I generate a webhook. Don't worry about this for now. I come over here and I generate a webhook. Let's imagine that this is LinkedIn and I want to post to LinkedIn. I want to give it some information about my latest post. So I would give it the URL of LinkedIn. Let's imagine this is LinkedIn's API. I would give it LinkedIn's API. Then down here, I would say the name or the title of the post. Let's say the title of the post is n8n. And the message is hello from n8n. If I execute this, then you can see the data was sent over to wherever we were sending it. And if we come over here, we can now see we have the information over here, which is title n8n and the message hello from n8n. Just forget about the webhook right now and just imagine that this could be literally any app that you use. Imagine it's Google Sheets and we wanted to add this to Google Sheet. We would put in Google Sheets API in here, which is the URL, and we would send over this information, which is JSON. This is essentially JSON. So if we change this down here to using JSON, it would make us write it out. And I would just say, I would put in here something like this, which is correct JSON, And if I send that over, it's the same thing. If I execute that and we come back over here, it gives me name Folu. So we're essentially sending information over to somewhere. We're using JSON to actually give this place the information. So you can imagine that could be maybe Google Sheets, where we wanted to add a new row called Folu, and we would send this information over. That's what the HTTP post request is doing for us. Now, let's imagine for an example, we want to send a message over to somewhere and the node is not in n8n. This is exactly how you would go about using the HTTP request. You'd come up here, sign in, get your HTTP request, come down here, and now we need to get information. So firstly, let's try it with OpenAI. Now let's imagine OpenAI doesn't have a node in n8n and we want to use OpenAI within one of our workflows. So I'm going to come down here, select a post request, and we need to find whatever OpenAI's URL is to use one of their AI agents. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to search up OpenAI docs for sending a message. I'm going to search that in, and you can see here we have chat completions API documentation. I'm going to go here and I'm going to find wherever the URL is so I can send information and get a response back from the AI. So it's probably somewhere down here. You can see we have image generation, text to speech. I want to just send a message over, which is a chat completion. So you can see here we have chat completions. I want to create a chat completion and we have the request here, and you can see it also gives us what we need to put in here. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to come over here to n8n. I'm going to drop it in here, and that's the API that we are calling in order to trigger this. Now, because we're using OpenAI, and OpenAI obviously has money within your account, and you need to pay to use the OpenAI API, we're going to have to add authentication, and this is essentially our code to say we're allowed to use this account. So in order to add authentication, you're going to come down here and you're going to press add headers. So we're going to send a header over, and in most HTTP requests, to send over your API key, it's going to be typing in authorization as the name of the header, and you're going to type in bearer, and then you're going to paste your API key. Now to get your API key, you're going to come over here to ChatGPT, the backend, so the platform openai.com/API keys. But if you just come to the OpenAI developer portal, where you can come down here, come over here to select create an API key. When you create an API key, give it a name and press create secret key. And when we bring it back over here, we can paste it in here, and that's essentially telling ChatGPT I have access to use this account, because anybody could send a message from this URL and say that they are us. So to prove that we are the correct person and that ChatGPT can essentially charge my account, we are going to put in my API key. So after we put in my API key, we obviously need to send over a body, which is going to be JSON. I'm going to come down here and select use in JSON. Now down here is where we need to send over a message, and to make it easy for yourself, I'm going to come over here to ChatGPT and I'm going to say make me a JSON for OpenAI chat completions so I can send a simple message over. Now this is going to create the JSON for us, so we don't actually have to know how to create JSON. But this is essentially the information that we want to send over to ChatGPT. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to bring it over. I'm going to drop it in here. And this is saying to ChatGPT, use GPT-5, act as a user. We're going to say role user, which is essentially saying this is somebody sending you a message. And we're going to put in the content as hello, can you write me a short greeting message? Now, if I send this over, as you can see with no API key here, if I try to execute this, it says you don't have an API key, so it's going to block me from using API. But if I come over here and grab my actual API key, so let's do test API. If I create a secret key and I copy this, bring it back over and drop it in here, and I execute this step now, you can see it's now working and ChatGPT is creating me a short greeting message in which it outputs it here. Here are a few short greeting options. Hi there, hope you have a great day. Hello, it's great to connect with you, etc, etc. So we posted a message over to ChatGPT. We gave it our key, our authorization, and we've said to it, give me some information back. So we've posted information, and in return we've got a response back. That's essentially how a post request or how HTTP requests work in general. Now let's say we want to use a GET request in ChatGPT. If we come back over here to the documents that we were just looking at, and let's say we wanted to get a chat completion, you can see here we have a GET request, and here's the URL that you want to use. Now you can see it's requiring us to put in a completion ID, and I'll show you where we can get that. So if we come up here and we go to this GET request, which is our get example, we change this out and we put in OpenAI. It's asking us for a completion ID, so I'm going to come down here to the one that we just sent over, and we should have an ID somewhere. So you can see here is the ID. I'm going to copy this, bring it over here, and I'm going to swap it out, and that's essentially our key to get the information here. So if I execute this, firstly I need to put in my authorization again to make sure we are allowed to use this. So I'm going to click down here, headers. Like always, it's going to be authorization. We're going to type in bearer, and we're going to put in our API key. So I'm going to copy this, bring it over, drop it in here. Now if I execute this, ChatGPT is getting me all of the information, and it just retrieved that message that it just sent over. So let's say we wanted to get the information back again after maybe I lost the information. I'm going to put in my chat completion ID, and it's going to give me information. And that's essentially how your post and GET requests work. If you like that video, leave a thumbs up. Let me know what you want to see next, and if you want to start your own AI agency, click the first link below, in which I will teach you exactly how to set up an agency and scale it to over 100k per month like I have done with my agency.